What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com. It's day 2. I just woke up. That's why I look and sound like this. But the next day of the Nemeziz event starts in about an hour, so I'm going to head out right about now. Not exactly sure what's going to be there or what we're going to be doing today, but hopefully it's something interesting. And of course, I'm going to take you guys along for the ride.
I guess I'll just kind of run you through a little bit the creative direction that kicked off this shoe. So the idea kind of started around 2015 when we saw the Barca Juventus Champions League final and watching Messi playing for the first time. I was really struck by how he really comes across as a master of his craft, right? This idea that he's so good, he's completely mastered football, he's the best footballer in the world. And it really kind of started this idea of thinking about how a master prepares for their art. So we started thinking about like a boxer wrapping their hands before going into a fight, or a ballerina or a ballet dancer wrapping their foot. And this idea of wrapping and preparation for battle and the kind of ritual of getting ready for mastery is what inspired this idea of creating a boot completely out of tape, right? The torsion tape idea. And it led us down a long and difficult period of trying to make it actually work, and this is where we ended up. So the first laceless low cut, completely constructed out of the torsion agility tape, and I think a pretty revolutionary football boot.
Speaking more on the whole line of the Nemeziz, you guys have the 17 plus and the 17.1, one with, without laces. What's the reasoning behind that? If technically the laceless one is the main way you guys designed the shoe, the best way, let's say, what's the reasoning for having one with laces as well?
Yeah, I mean, reality is, in this day and age, we know that laceless is kind of the new innovation, that, we are striving to deliver something where less is more. We're striving to deliver optimum fit. So fit and function is something we mention a lot. Laces have been done since, back in the day, it's been done since I think the time of British to football senses. Laceless is kind of treading new territory, and we know that as the most progressive franchise, that's kind of the realm we need to go down. Because laceless kind of represents, as a brand, where we see football going in the future. How do we optimise fit? How do we optimise lockdown outside of a traditional lace system? At the same time, we understand that because it's been around for so long, the masses will still, gravitate towards a lace construction because it's what we all know. But ultimately, if we want to push the realms of innovation, if we want to further football, if we want to progress football the same way we progress our concepts, then laceless is definitely a territory that we will continue to explore. So at the top end, we will always offer both variations for both different consumer tastes and styles. But ultimately, the laceless is an area that we really push, particularly on a franchise like this, which will always be our most progressive. I think something we mentioned as a brand is authenticity to progression. Authentic would be a traditional lace construction at a P1 price point, and then progressive would be a lace construction. So that's something we try to carry out throughout all of our franchises, all of our collections.
Cool, that makes sense. Thanks, guys.
Quick analysis on that answer, because there's some interesting information there. Obviously, if you regularly watch my channel, you know that I've been very critical of laceless boots from Adidas, even the most recent Nemeziz 17 Plus, which is kind of what this launch event was all about. And also bear in mind that I actually had the opportunity to play a pretty good amount in both the 17 Plus and 17.1 variations of the Nemeziz, the two top-end models, prior to attending this particular event. So I actually had personal experience with the shoes that I was asking about and that they were talking about throughout this entire presentation. So the question that I asked, I didn't want it to be so generic that they could just use the generic, media information that's already out there. I wanted them to have an answer that was actually going to be on the spot. So I asked about the Nemeziz 17.1, and I guess the version of the shoe that's high-end with a lacing system, because that's more or less a product that they ignored throughout the entire presentation. They really focused on the laceless variation, the 17 Plus. So I think that it was interesting that he said that if they offer a laceless variation, there's always going to be a laced option available as well. So that indirectly says that Adidas themselves don't necessarily think that laceless is the best way of doing things. It's just a different way of doing things. And that's kind of something that I've been talking about in my videos. So I thought that was a really interesting way of answering the question. And two, he also kind of pointed out that not everybody wants a laceless system. That's partially why they're offering the lace variation. And there's kind of a part two to this particular question that you guys will see in just a second. So stay tuned for that. And he also kind of touched on the fact that the laceless thing is something that they're doing right now to kind of be the first ones to do it. It's their claim to fame at the moment. It's something that they wanted to do first. So if anybody else does it now, just because Adidas has established themselves as being, I guess, the #1 provider of laceless boots, if anybody else tries to do a laceless boot, it's going to be viewed as copying Adidas. So it's kind of one of those things where they wanted to be first to the game and kind of maintain that. And I think they've done a good job of that. Do I think laceless boots are the best way of doing things? No. Do I think the laceless version of the Nemeziz is the best one of the two top-end models? No. I much prefer the 17.1, but definitely an interesting answer to the question and definitely some interesting information there.
You spoke a lot about Messi and like a lot of these specific players being the inspiration for the design of these shoes. How involved do you guys have these guys in the development process?
We involve our athletes the whole way through. I mean, one thing that makes Adidas very special, I think, as a company, as a part of the sports industry, is that we really believe in having a very deep and intimate connection with all our athletes. So Messi was involved in the process. A lot of our pro players would be testing the whole way through. So we test, we refine, we test, we refine, we get player feedback. We have a constant dialogue with our players.
Cool.
Involved the whole way through.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, we test this in the process, the 200 players worldwide, and they vary from the guys at the top level, so Messi, these are the guys at the top of the game, very sensitive to changes in a football boot, they can pick up on it straight away. Messi obviously was going to be he was firmly our focus for the franchise. He was essential in what we were doing. He was integral to the whole process. So we went through various stages where, from a development point of view, we go from an early stage sample right the way through to kind of, a good 3 or 4 stages. We bring them in at the earliest possible opportunity. First of all, to emphasise, does it fit right? And then we get them to test out the field. I'm sure you all see online that you see blackout editions on the training pitch, and that is part of the process whereby we send it out to our pro players. We talk about other players, the Firminos of this world, Renato Sanchez. These again we identify as these agility players, so they were integral into the overall process. But we also know that at the same time these guys are playing on amazing football pitches. There's no bumps, there's no mud that you would get on a traditional Saturday Sunday league in a UK or a Spain or a France or wherever it is. So we bring that down as well into the semi-professional level. So we have the guys, our core consumers who will be buying this product, wearing it on a standard football pitch as well, testing it. So it's a huge testing process we go through. So yes, we take the inspiration from our pro players, but then when it comes to testing the actual tech on the boot, like I say, we do that in a tiering system from top down, and it's a lengthy process. 2-year development cycle. Within those 2 years, we'll go through maybe a year, maybe just over, of testing.
So this is a question that I asked, kind of fishing for a more truthful response into how much the professional players actually impact the final design of these shoes. Obviously, they spoke a lot about Messi being a key player in the development and the inspiration for the new Nemeziz model, and they specifically focused on the laceless 17 plus version of the shoe. But as a boot enthusiast, as part of that community, I'm sure you guys know, he doesn't wear the laceless version like you see him holding in the marketing material. He wears a variation of the 17.1 with a lacing system, and who knows what other modifications are made to his shoe. That's kind of always been the case with Messi. Even when he had his own signature model, he didn't wear the same version that you could go and buy in the store. There were always modifications to it. So obviously the marketing would suggest that Messi loves the 17 plus that you can go and buy in the store, when in reality he doesn't even wear the shoe. So without kind of asking that directly, because I didn't want to be calling anybody out at an Adidas event, I figured I would ask a question implying the information that I just said and see if they would actually talk about that aspect of the development process, because they can say Messi is a key player in the development, and I'm sure that he is. I'm sure they use his input as much as they possibly can, but how much does his input actually impact the final design? Definitely not as much as they would lead you to believe, because if his opinion was that impactful, then obviously the final product would be more like the product that he actually wears versus something completely different. So Obviously, the answer that I got was more so around marketing material rather than actual truth, but I still thought it was an interesting question, and that's kind of the main reason why I asked it. Having the opportunity to hold the prototype development models of the Nemeziz in hand was something that I've never had the opportunity to do before, so I thought that was really cool just as a boot enthusiast. It was interesting to see, I guess, the evolution from the earlier prototypes to the later ones, then what obviously turned into the final Nemeziz 17 Plus and 17.1 models. And as you can see in the prototypes, there was variation with the uppers. Some of them had the original agility knit 1.0 from the Nemeziz 16 generation. Later ones had the 2.0 agility knit, which you obviously see on the final product. You see different angles for the torsion tapes, which I'd be really curious to actually try some of those and play in them to see how that would impact, I guess, the feel of the shoe and how different it is from the final product. And you can see some of them as well before they actually had the agility bandage system in place. Some of them were using the Tech Fit material from the X16 generation of boots from Adidas in place of the agility bandages. So that was kind of an interesting modification as well. They all had pretty much the same sole plate and stud pattern, so it looks like that was established pretty early on, the torsion frame sole plate. And overall, it was just a really, really cool experience. And I think that some of these prototype models actually look quite good as well. Let me know down below in the comments if you prefer the look of some of the prototypes over what the final product ended up being. Alright guys, so that is it for day 2, the final day of the Adidas Nemeziz launch event in London, England. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content that came from the event itself. I have more Adidas content from London, England coming soon on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Just wanted to say a quick thank you to Adidas for having me out at this event. I had a great time, it was an awesome experience, and I really feel like the experience in the event definitely gave us some further insight on what the Nemeziz boot is all about, not only for me, but also for my viewers. So thank you so much for the opportunity. But also for the viewers, keep in mind that this does not skew my opinion. It doesn't change my opinions of any particular product from Adidas or any other brand for that matter. All of my opinions are completely based on what I truly think. If I like it, I'll say it's good. If I don't like it, I'll say it's bad. It's just that simple. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this vlog, be sure to support the video with a like. That would be fantastic. If you have any questions regarding Adidas Nemeziz, leave it down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.